Do you want to be healthier, yet you just don't know what to do? All these shows telling you this and that, but nothing seems to work. Well, listen close. Golden State Media Concepts has got something great for you. The Health and Wellness Podcast dedicated to workout trends, healthy eating habits, diet, and everything about healthy living. Join us in our banters as we help you not just live life to the fullest, but live it to the healthiest.
Thank you for tuning in to the GSMC Health and Wellness Podcast, brought to you by the GSMC Podcast Network. I'm your host, Alex. Today I want to talk to you guys about the respiratory system and general respiratory health. We're going to talk about what your respiratory system does, how it works, and some tips for keeping your lungs healthy in general. So first up, let's talk about what comprises this system. Whenever you think of respiration and the respiratory system, generally we mostly think of the lungs. But that's not all that is involved in your respiratory system. Yes, your lungs are there to bring fresh oxygen into your body and get rid of carbon dioxide and other waste gases, but there's a little bit more to it than that. Your respiratory system is mainly your lungs, the airways, and also the muscles that enable breathing. Your circulatory system is also a big part of this, as well as the nervous system, lymphatic system, and immune system, all of which work together to keep your respiratory system functioning properly. So when we're looking at the respiratory system, up first you have your mouth, actually, and your nose. The airways are referring to the pipes, really, that bring oxygen-rich air to your lungs and get rid of that waste gas. The airways include your mouth, your nose, and any linked air passages like your nasal cavity and your sinuses, your larynx, also referred to sometimes as your voice box, your trachea/windpipe, and then your tubes, which are the bronchial tubes, also referred to as bronchi in the plural, or bronchus if we're talking about it singularly. Those also branch off in a very tree-like way, and tree-like, we're going to use the term dendritic going forward. So dendro means tree. So when we talk about dendrochronology, we're talking about telling the age of something using tree rings, and that is something that they use in anthropology. And so dendritic means tree-like. So these bronchi branch off into these bronchioles, these smaller tubes that have little air sacs called alveoli, like little balloons kind of, at their ends, and that is where the gas exchange is performed, oxygen and carbon dioxide. So when air first enters your body, it comes in through your nose or your mouth, and that's really important for moistening the air and warming it up a bit, because cold, dry air can really irritate your lungs. So we want to make sure that our body is prepping this air to give our lungs the best shot at using it without being irritated. Then that air goes past your voice box, past your larynx, and down your trachea, your windpipe. And that trachea then splits into those two bronchial tubes that enter into your lungs. They also have cartilage in there to help the bronchial tubes stay open. Then the bronchial tubes start branching out inside of your lungs into literally thousands of smaller, thinner tubes. The more they branch off, the smaller and thinner they get. And those are your bronchioles. That's largely what's making up these little tree branches. Think of the respiratory system as being like an upside down tree. So your trachea, your windpipe, is the trunk of this tree. And then the bronchial tubes are the first branches or limbs that we have. And then we have the smaller branches for the bronchial tubes until we get to the alveoli, those little sacs that perform gas exchange. Those can be thought of as being like the leaves. And your mouth and nose, the part that's bringing in moisture into the body, that can kind of be thought of as the roots. It doesn't look exactly the same, but that's okay. We see more of the branches than the roots in most trees anyway. Now, unlike the bronchi, the bronchioles don't have cartilage to kind of stiffen them and help keep them open. So those walls of the bronchioles can widen or narrow to let more or less airflow in through those tubes. So it really can change in its size, really, in order to accommodate and regulate airflow. Then those bronchioles end in those little clusters of those balloon-like sacs, the leaves of our lungs, and those are your alveoli. Your lungs have about 150 million total alveoli. That is quite a lot. But remember, we started with the single trachea and then went to 2 bronchi, and then those exponentially split off into other bronchioles. And then in addition to that, there are many of these alveoli at the ends of each one of these bronchioles. So that makes sense. We went from 1 to 2 to thousands to 150 million alveoli. Alveoli are typically able to change their size and shape pretty easily, and they're coated on the inside of the sacs with surfactant. And surfactant is this kind of foamy substance that forms a very thin layer within the lungs to keep the lungs' air sacs open. Surfactant is made up of proteins and fats, and that is how it works at that very small level to keep them open, since cartilage might be a bit too much at that point. So each of these alveoli is also covered in a network of small blood vessels. Remember from our heart episode that the smallest form of blood vessels is the capillary. So the capillaries come into contact with the alveoli at a place called the lung interstitium. The interstitium is present throughout the body, and it's really spaces that are filled with fluid and are supported by collagen. And they're really important for shock absorption. So you have them in your lungs, your aorta, your digestive tract, your bladder, your skin. They're kind of all over the place, and they expand and contract in order to protect your tissue. Some researchers are even referring to it as an organ. Interstitium pretty much means in Latin the space between, and we've known about these spaces for a while, but we didn't realize that they were really filled with this fluid because of how we fix them to slides. That's the process of putting something on a slide to look at under a microscope. It's called fixing. So they would fix it to the slide, and when you would do that, all of the fluid would drain out from those spaces. So it looked like it was a stiff or more dense tissue than it actually is. So now they found a new method to look at it in living tissue, and that is referred to as probe-based confocal laser endomicroscopy. So endomicroscopy is looking inside at the microscopic level. So it's pretty cool. They refer to it as PCLE, lowercase p, capital CLE. If you guys are interested in going online and reading more about it, it has a ton of different applications, but one of the big discoveries they've recently utilized it with was learning more about the interstitium. So, the interstitium, that shock absorber pad, is that space in the lungs where your alveoli come into contact with your capillaries. So it's pretty much the smallest units of your lungs, your respiratory system, coming into contact with one of the smallest units of your circulatory system. Those capillaries are, of course, connected to arteries and veins that move blood through your body. Arteries move blood and, of course, the oxygen that is accompanying it, or the waste gases, as well as nutrients. Arteries go away from the heart, and veins move it back to the heart. Now, the pulmonary artery and its branches are really important in the respiratory system because it delivers some blood that is rich in carbon dioxide and is lacking oxygen to those capillaries that surround those air sacs. So then the carbon dioxide moves from the blood into the air inside of the alveoli. And oxygen at the same time is being exchanged from the lungs through the alveoli into the blood in your capillaries. So it works really well together in tandem, and we can kind of think of that like old school milkmen, right? So if you had milk in glass bottles, the way that it worked is the milkman would bring you the milk in these glass bottles, deliver it to your house, and then when he got there, he would take the empties. And remember, nothing is really truly empty. It does have a gas in it. So in this case, that gas is going to be the carbon dioxide that is leaving out through the lungs. It has emptied out of the capillaries and you are expelling it via your breath. And the alveoli are giving the capillaries, or the milkman at this point, some oxygen to enrich the blood. Now technically, in this analogy, they are both gases, but you get my point. They are exchanging one thing for another simultaneously and on a pretty regular schedule. We're going to go on a quick break, and when we come back, we are going to talk about lung function versus lung capacity. Stay tuned. You really can't underestimate the importance of having the right creative work for your brand or your product. Whether it's a logo, a website, a book cover, or an ad campaign, you really need a quality design to make that big difference pop and deliver your overall engagement and success in a competitive market. That's where Design Crowd comes in. Design Crowd has over 750,000 designers from Sydney to San Francisco ready to help you with awesome creative ideas. They make crowdsourcing work for you. So if you need a logo or you're working on your creative branding, you can go to designcrowd.com and post a brief describing the design you need. And then within about 2 to 7 days, you'll receive up to over 100 different designs from designers around the world. Then you pick the best design and approve payment to the designer. So you're only paying for the design that you want. It takes a lot of the guesswork out of freelancing and out of crowdsourcing. And you don't have to be a huge company like Harvard Business School to use Design Crowd, although they have used it as well. You can start a project on Design Crowd for as little as $99. And if you go right now to designcrowd.com/health and wellness or enter the promo code health and wellness on their website, then our health and wellness listeners will receive up to $150 off of your design project. That's designcrowd.com/health and wellness or entering that promo code health and wellness.
Are you looking to learn more about the latest trends from the fitness world? Are you confused by all of the different trends that are out there? The GSMC Fitness Podcast is the place for you. The GSMC Fitness Podcast is the place to come for people of all skill and interest levels. Join us as we explore the latest trends in the fitness world. Does that new exercise really work? Should I try yoga? Whatever your question, chances are good you'll find an answer on the GSMC Fitness Podcast.
before the break, we were talking about the respiratory system, what it is composed of, what it specifically does, and how it works. So now we're going to talk about some ways that we can improve our lung health, starting with really discussing what lung function is and lung capacity, so that we can understand specifically what we're talking about as we go forward. So your lungs have two main jobs. One is to deliver oxygen to your bloodstream, and the other is to remove carbon dioxide, any waste gases really, from your body. All the cells in your body draw oxygen from the blood, and they deposit carbon dioxide as the waste product back into the bloodstream, where it goes back to the alveoli and out through your lungs in the process of respiration. So your lungs are going to normally be able to supply your body with the needed amounts of oxygen. But some folks, due to illness or issues that they were born with, may not have the sufficient capacity to supply their body with the amount of oxygen that it needs. And these types of issues can be any type of chronic lung disease like pulmonary fibrosis, COPD, which stands for chronic obstructive pulmonary disease, or even things like pneumonia. So your lung function and your lung capacity are what determine how efficiently your lungs can deliver oxygen to your body and to get rid of that carbon dioxide. Lung capacity is what tells you how much air your lungs can hold. It's going to affect how quickly the air can go in and out of your lungs. So it's like regulating your airflow is lung capacity. Your level of lung function determines how well your lungs deliver oxygen and remove carbon dioxide from your bloodstream. So lung function specifically is related to how efficiently the body uses the oxygen it receives. So capacity is how much air your lungs can hold, and function is how well your body uses the oxygen that it does get. Lung capacity can be improved, but lung function cannot. That means that improving your lung health is about improving your lung capacity specifically. You can do some lung exercises to help your body make better use of the oxygen that's available. And we're going to talk a little bit about some of these exercises you can do to improve your lung health and breathe easier. So first up is diaphragmatic breathing. Healthy breathing involves using your diaphragm. So your diaphragm is kind of a dome-shaped muscle that sits between your chest and your abdomen, kind of like an upside-down bowl, more or less. It aids in the respiratory system by pushing the air out of the lungs as it moves back up and allowing the lungs to fill with air as it moves down. A lot of times people refer to it as belly breathing. If you've ever been involved in singing, especially with a group, or you've taken singing lessons, so anything like choir, chorus, etc., then you may be familiar already with belly breathing. In elementary school, when I was in chorus, my teacher, Miss Young, used to say that we needed to take deep belly breaths. And so she did explain the diaphragm as well, I believe, but for kids especially, it's easier to conceptualize it that way. Because really your belly is rising instead of your chest in this type of breathing. It's also referred to as diaphragmatic breathing, and your abdomen is going to rise and fall with each breath. So your diaphragm is supposed to be your primary breathing muscle, but many people end up habituating to using the muscles in their neck, their shoulders, and their back instead. And that can really limit how much air gets into and leaves your lungs. So they did a 2016 study in the Journal of Physical Therapy Science and observed the effects of diaphragmatic breathing on respiratory function. They used two groups of subjects. One group did feedback breathing exercises and the other did diaphragmatic or belly breathing. And the results of the study showed that there was a large improvement in lung capacity for the group that was practicing the belly breathing. So belly breathing is really not just expanding the capacity of your lungs. It's also strengthening that diaphragm muscle, and that helps the lungs, in turn, to do their work more efficiently. So in order to do that exercise, you need to breathe from your belly. Place one hand on your belly and one on your chest, and inhale and exhale. I want you to breathe in through your nose for 2 seconds, and then out through pursed lips. So pucker up more or less, and then you're going to breathe out that way. So it's kind of what it's going to sound like. Puckering is just there to help you control how much air is being released. And as you're exhaling, press down on your belly to make sure that you are engaging your diaphragm muscle. It's going to help you get rid of all of the stale air deep down in the lobes of your lungs and go from there. In addition to belly breathing, you can also practice pursed lip breathing. So a lot of chronic lung conditions like asthma and bronchitis are really coming about because there are inflamed airways that are preventing the air from circulating through your lungs. So when that happens, that stale air gets trapped inside, and it makes it hard for your lungs to get new or fresh oxygen in there. So these conditions can make you feel short of breath a lot of the time, which is what we associate with asthma and bronchitis. So pursed lip breathing forces that airway to stay open for longer when you exhale, so that that stale air can be expelled and you can get more fresh air when you inhale. The great thing about these breathing exercises is that they're really easy to do. And for the most part, you can do many of these anywhere and at any time. And a lot of times folks won't even notice that you're doing them. The exercise really for pursed lip breathing involves inhaling slowly through your nose and exhaling through pursed lips. It's supposed to take you about twice as long breathing out as breathing in. So if you inhale for 5 seconds, exhale for 10, and so on. Whatever is most comfortable for your body and what your personal respiratory system is capable of. All right, we're going to go on another break, and when we come back, we're going to talk about some other ways to keep our lungs healthy. Stay tuned.
I want to talk to you guys about this amazing product I've been using lately called Hydrant. If you're like me and you want to kick the coffee habit, but you're worried about your energy levels depleting, to avoid the morning sluggishness and that midday slump, you need to make sure you're hydrated. It's super important. And that's where I've been using Hydrant. And for 25% off your first order, you can go to drinkhydrant.com and enter promo code GSMC at checkout. Hydrant is basically flavored electrolyte packets you mix directly into your water to make hydrating your body easy and delicious. And what I love about Hydrant, it's backed by research. The formula was developed by Oxford scientists to provide perfectly balanced, efficient hydration. Again, that's drinkhydrant.com and enter promo code GSMC for 25% off your first order. Another really cool thing about Hydrant, there's no synthetic colors or artificial sweeteners. The formula is vegan and you can choose between 3 different flavors or a variety pack. So for all my vegan friendly fellows out there, this one's for you. Again, this is drinkhydrant.com and enter promo code GSMC.
Tired of searching the vast jungle of podcasts? Now listen close and hear this out. There's a podcast network that covers just about everything that you've been searching. Hey! The Golden State Media Concepts Podcast Network is here. Nothing less than a podcast bliss with endless hours of podcast coverage. From news, sports, music, fashion, cooking, entertainment, fantasy, football, and so much more. So stop lurking around and go straight out to the Golden State Media Concepts Podcast Network. Guaranteed to fill that podcast itch. whatever it may be. Visit us at www.gsmcpodcast.com. Follow us on Facebook and Twitter, and download us on iTunes, SoundCloud, and Google Play.
Welcome back. Before the break, we were talking about a couple of ways to exercise your diaphragm and your lungs in order to improve your lung capacity. Now remember, we cannot adjust lung function. That's how efficiently your lungs are delivering oxygen and getting rid of carbon dioxide. But we can work on how much oxygen our lungs hold, our lung capacity. So we just discussed diaphragmatic breathing and pursed lip breathing, and now we're going to talk about rib stretching. So the rib stretch is really straightforward. It is exactly what it sounds like. You are just stretching or expanding your rib cage to help your lungs intake as much air as possible. It does require you to stand up and be in an upright position with your hands on your hips. Then slowly inhale until your lungs fill to capacity. Hold your breath for 20 seconds if you're able to, or however long is comfortable and what you're capable of for it, and then exhale slowly. Remember, we're working our way up in helping out our lung capacity. It's okay if you can't start out at 20 seconds. We'll work up to it together. Once you have exhaled slowly, relax, and then repeat that 3 more times. When you do this on a regular basis, these rib stretches can really help you with your lung intake, your air intake, and it can also help you exhale fully so you don't have stale air building up in the lungs. My favorite way to exercise my lungs is actually by singing. Or laughing, both, really. So laughing and singing do the same thing. They work out your abdominal muscles, which are also working out your lungs. So laughing not only increases your lung capacity, but it also forces that stale air out of the lungs so that you can get more fresh air in it. With singing, it's working the diaphragm muscle, which also helps increase your lung capacity. It's really fun to do, at least in my opinion. And if you can't sing good, sing loud, y'all. It's quite all right. No one is going to judge you. And if they do, who cares? Just go ahead and do it. I sing just about everywhere I go. And normally people just think it's funny, I think. It's a little odd, I guess. But it makes my day better. So laughing and singing are not only good for your lung health, but it's also good for your mental health, your emotional wellness, and it helps reduce stress. So whenever we're stressed, our immune system doesn't work as well as it should. So by laughing and singing, it can help us a lot. So personally, I choose laughter. And whenever I can be upset about something, I will laugh or I will sing instead. Somebody cut me off in traffic recently, and at first I was pretty upset about it because they were being wildly dangerous and really not, I don't want to say crazy. Crazy sounds like it's a judging word, but they followed me in my car for a while. They cut me off and then got in behind me and followed me through the hills and everything for a little bit until I lost them. So this person was just not very well balanced, I think, and I chose to just sing it out instead of getting mad back, because whenever you get mad, it is just more dangerous for everyone else on the road, just as it was for that person in them trying to follow me everywhere. I don't know what they thought was going to happen, that I was going to stop my car and we can get out and we'd have a fist fight. I don't understand what the point was really, but they expressed their ire when they cut me off. So there's that. Sometimes people are weird. They do things that don't make sense. And I just think that it's better to laugh than cry or get mad at this point in my life, or just sing it out, you guys. It doesn't have to make sense to other people. Your catharsis is your own, and whatever feels right to you as an individual, as long as it's not hurting anybody else, it's totally fine to just pursue that. It's going to help out your mental health, and it's going to help out your lungs. You can also help out your lungs by increasing your activity level. So I think that most of us really already thought of this one. It's not the most fun one per se on this list. I'd say that laughing and singing are going to be a lot more fun, as well as that rib stretch and the belly breathing. But sometimes you got to do what you got to do for your body. So a lot of us work out for our muscles, or we work out for our hearts, or to reduce fat. But really, your lungs need that activity too. Your lungs are just like other muscles, and they're not being used to their full capacity when you're at rest. And they can get used to just being in that state. So we want to make sure that we are giving them an exercise. We tend to take our lungs for granted, I think, because we can't see them, and breathing is such an unconscious process that we really don't think about it. We're breathing all the time, even when we are asleep. And so since we don't have to consciously think about it to do it, I don't think we really think about working out for our lungs either. But I like to work out for my lungs because I love to sing. So that helps me with hitting certain notes and holding them for longer. But it also just makes my lungs feel really nice, you guys. So even if you just take a brisk walk or you go bike riding for a little bit, it not only works well for a lung exercise, but you are also getting your heart health and your mood up. They did a study in Canada a while back. It was published in the Canadian Longitudinal Study on Aging, and it was demonstrating the benefits of replacing just 30 minutes of sedentary time per day with strenuous or strength-building exercises. So aerobics, that cardiovascular workout, or with doing some weight training. The study participants had poor respiratory function beforehand, like asthma or COPD. So it was a very specific group in this study. And then results from the study show that there were marked increases in their lung capacity. So these participants were able to inhale and exhale larger volumes of air on an ongoing basis because they have continued to work on just getting up and going for a walk for 30 minutes a day instead of sitting down. Now, I know that that is easier said than done, especially in this era of social distancing. But remember, most places do go ahead and let you still go outside. You just have to stay at least 6 feet away from other folks. And you can start with a casual stroll and work your way up. Remember, when we're talking about exercise and improvement, we can talk about starting with the little things. You don't have to overextend yourself. And indeed, you're less likely to be successful in continuing your type of health and wellness pursuits if you overextend yourself at the beginning. That is what studies have shown. Now, there are a few things to keep in mind, though. While lung exercises are really good at improving your overall lung health, if you have a chronic lung disease, it's always a good idea to talk to your doctor before starting an exercise regimen. So just like we discussed in the cardiovascular health episode, it's really important to discuss that with your doctor if you have something going on with your lungs as well. Pretty much anytime you have something going on with your body, you should maybe talk to your doctor before you start an exercise regimen. Exercise almost never produces results overnight as well. So make sure that you're listening to your body and really paying attention to when it needs a break. There's a difference between really pushing yourself hard and overdoing it. Your body will really tell you that. And there's nothing to be ashamed of in that process. Remember, we're taking these incremental steps. So it's okay if you don't see positive results all at once. It takes time. Just keep doing it consistently and you'll be set. Always make sure that The exercise pace doesn't overtax your condition either, but all in all, if you exercise your lungs and make a more active lifestyle, you're going to have an improved mood, improved physical health, mental health, emotional wellness, and your lungs will largely thank you. We're going to go on another break, and when we come back, we are going to talk about lung health and diseases. Stay tuned. You really can't underestimate the importance of having the right creative work for your brand or your product. Whether it's a logo, a website, a book cover, or an ad campaign, you really need a quality design to make that big difference pop and deliver your overall engagement and success in a competitive market. That's where Design Crowd comes in. Design Crowd has over 750,000 designers from Sydney to San Francisco ready to help you with awesome creative ideas. They make crowdsourcing work for you. So if you need a logo or you're working on your creative branding, you can go to designcrowd.com and post a brief describing the design you need. And then within about 2 to 7 days, you'll receive up to over 100 different designs from designers around the world. Then you pick the best design and approve payment to the designer. So you're only paying for the design that you want. It takes a lot of the guesswork out of freelancing and out of crowdsourcing. And you don't have to be a huge company like Harvard Business School to use Design Crowd, although they have used it as well. You can start a project on Design Crowd for as little as $99. And if you go right now to designcrowd.com/health and wellness or enter the promo code health and wellness on their website, then our health and wellness listeners will receive up to $150 off of your design project. That's designcrowd.com/health and wellness or entering that promo code health and wellness.
The GSMC Life and Happiness Podcast takes you on a journey of exploration. We'll discuss tried and true methods alongside the latest trends of how to best live your life to its fullest and happiest. From psychology to meditation, science to self-help books, the GSMC Life and Happiness Podcast will help you to discover what makes you happy and how you can live life being the best you possible. Download the GSMC Life and Happiness Podcast on iTunes, Stitcher, SoundCloud, Google Play, or anywhere you find podcasts. Just type GSMC in the search bar.
Welcome back. Before the break, we were talking about your lungs and some ways you can improve your lung capacity. Now we're going to talk about some diseases you can get in your lungs. So first up, I want to talk about necrotizing pneumonia. A recent study has found that may be a new vaping hazard. So e-cigarettes at one point were thought to be a much safer alternative to traditional cigarettes, but recently there have been some serious lung illnesses and deaths linked to these nicotine delivery devices. So a new case report details a type of lung illness in a 15-year-old girl who regularly used e-cigarettes, and it is necrotizing pneumonia. It's an uncommon complication of pneumonia, and it destroys areas of lung tissue. So necrotizing means essentially to make dead. When this happens, it can even occur if someone has been treated with antibiotics. It's pretty unusual for generally healthy folks to get that type of pneumonia because it's very invasive, but it's not impossible. Experts are not for sure yet if vaping caused that particular illness, but they have been doing some animal studies over the years, and these have suggested impaired immune defenses in the lungs associated with vaping. So one doctor, Dr. Ravi Kalan, said that the idea that in this case vaping created a setup for severe pneumonia in an individual is a reasonable hypothesis, but a single case does not prove it. A true scientist, if I have ever heard a quote from one. He's saying one does not a sample size make, more or less, and you guys have heard me say that a lot. So he thinks that this is a very plausible cause of what was happening with this girl, but they need to see more data in order to really determine a true correlation or causative relationship. So we do know, however, that over 2,800 people across all 50 states have been hospitalized with some type of life-threatening respiratory dysfunction that has been tied to recent e-cigarette use. Those stats are from the CDC. 68 of those 2,800 people died. So the research has strongly suggested that an additive that is called vitamin E acetate, and they sometimes put that in marijuana-laced vapes, may be triggering those illnesses. The health experts have also raised some concerns about how a lot of e-cigarettes are being sold nowadays, especially among teens. So a CDC report from November 2019 found that about 1 in every 5 high school students had used an e-cigarette in the past month. This new case report also found that the teen patient had a habit of daily nicotine vaping, the 15-year-old who got the necrotizing pneumonia, that is. She used e-cigarettes several times each hour and had been doing that for the past 9 months. This girl also used flavored nicotine, which a lot of folks do with their e-cigs, and that include apple, mango, cotton candy, and the birthday cake flavors, although they are not at all saying that those specific flavors were the cause of the issues. She said that she used disposable and refillable pen-like vapes, and that she hadn't altered the devices in any way. I know some folks will mess with the coils and everything to make it burn hotter or just at a different temperature in general, but this girl says she did not do any of that. She also admitted to occasionally smoking marijuana, but she did not do that with an e-cigarette. She did that the old-fashioned way, I suppose, although she did not specify, at least in this article, how specifically she got it, just that she smoked it. So in September 2019, she was admitted to the hospital because she was having trouble breathing, and she'd been sick for about a week before that. And they took some images of her lungs and found that she had lung tissue damage. But she responded really well to treatment, and they released her after a little over a week in the hospital. But she did spend 6 days in the ICU. She has not yet fully recovered, though. The doctors have seen her 1 month after she completed a 3-week course of antibiotics, and at that point, she still couldn't climb more than a flight of stairs without getting out of breath. She couldn't walk quickly from one class to another either without getting winded. Now, I'm not sure what her lung capacity or her lung function was prior to this issue or how extensive the necrotizing pneumonia was in her case, or if there are any other extraneous variables, we call those confounding variables, that might be part of the cause of the issue as well. Things like how was her lung function prior to the vaping, what other conditions might she have that could be slowing her healing or also causing her to be out of breath, what type of lung shape and physical shape she was in before either. I don't have any of that information in this case study, so I can't entirely tell you guys how fully correlated it is. Another doctor, though, who is a pulmonary specialist, was not a part of the study, but said it appeared to be yet another horror story of vaping. He also said that this specific case seems to represent a previously undescribed cause of vaping-related pneumonia. Another doctor went ahead and suggested one thing, and that is to say that he doesn't think that vaping is good for people. He said, in fact, I think it's clear that vaping is definitely not good for you because inhaling anything but air can be really risky. We don't know what all of the short and long-term effects of vaping are yet, partly just because it's so relatively new. Doctors say that a lot of folks think that it's safe or safer than cigarettes, but they say that that's really supposition. We don't really know, as a matter of fact. And these effects haven't been carefully studied yet, and they really need to be. So a lot of pulmonary experts are working on studying some more regarding vaping and how that affects the lungs. And they've said that in the meantime, they just want people to be reminded that lungs were designed to inhale air, and that's it. Now, I'm not giving y'all a hard time about what you choose to do in your personal lives. However, we are going to talk about some things that could go awry with your lungs, just so you know what to look out for. So pleurisy is the next type of disease I want to talk to y'all about. It's a type of chest pain, actually, and it affects the part of your lungs called the pleura. And the pleura is a really thin layer of tissue that wraps your lungs. It encases your lungs, more or less. And it fits snugly within your chest, which is lined with another layer of pleura. And that helps you to breathe in and out without causing any rubbing against your chest, right? So we don't want the chest wall and the lungs rubbing together and causing friction because that would be painful. So instead, we have these pleura to help us out with that. There's also some fluid between the layers of the pleura to keep everything moving smoothly. So when you're healthy, you're not even going to notice your pleura working, but you'll feel it if they're having a problem. Sometimes the pleura can get swollen and inflamed, and then they can rub together in a very painful way anytime your lungs expand, which, depending on how quickly you breathe or how many inhalations and exhalations you make in a given day, it can be a lot. So you're going to particularly notice this when you inhale deeply, cough, sneeze, or laugh, and you may feel a sharp stabbing pain in the affected area. Most of the time, pleurisy happens because of an infection, and if your doctor treats the infection, then the pain goes away because it's no longer just rubbing up against each other from being swollen and inflamed. Now, there are a couple different types of causes of pleurisy. We're going to go on a quick break, and when we come back, we're going to discuss those. Stay tuned.
Are you tired of the same old news? Are you sick of the seemingly endless political spin and negativity? The GSMC America's Still Beautiful podcast is a weekly news podcast covering all the top positive and uplifting news stories. We cover stories that will inspire, uplift, and remind you of the good in the world. Tune into the Golden State Media Concepts America's Still Beautiful podcast to get all the great and positive news stories of today. Download the GSMC America's Still Beautiful podcast on iTunes, Stitcher, SoundCloud, Google Play, or anywhere you find podcasts. Just type GSMC in the search bar.
Welcome back. Before the break, we were introducing the topic of pleurisy, what it is, how it produces chest pain, and how to know if you have it. So there are a couple different causes of pleurisy, and it includes bacterial infections like pneumonia. It can also be caused by viruses like the flu or by a fungus. So some other things that can cause pleurisy are lung cancer, other types of cancer that may affect your lungs or the pleura. A blood clot in your lung can do it. That's scary. And autoimmune disease like lupus, rheumatoid arthritis, etc., a chest injury, sickle cell anemia, and mesothelioma. So there are several different types. I don't want to freak you guys out. We're not going on WebMD and scaring ourselves with this information. This is just so that we know a little bit more about the lungs. But chest pain from pleurisy has signs that can make it easy for your doctor to know specifically that that's what you have. And that can be a big relief if you're worried about these chest pains. Now remember, your right lung is a little bit larger than your left lung, and it has 3 lobes, whereas your left lung is smaller and it only has 2 lobes. And that's because the heart is more nested behind that left lung, so it needs that extra space. When you have pleurisy, your doctor is perhaps going to ask you about some specific symptoms. You'll generally feel a sharp stabbing pain that causes you to take smaller, shallow breaths because it hurts more when you try to inhale deeply. The pain can spread to your shoulder or even your back, and it may be accompanied by a cough or fever and chills. So take note of any of these types of symptoms. Just because your chest is hurting, you might not think that your back pain is related to it, but it very well could be if the cause is pleurisy. So with the pleurisy diagnosis, they're going to ask you as well to explain the specific type of pain that you feel when you're breathing or when you're coughing, and then they'll ask if it gets better or worse as you go about your day. They'll also listen to your lungs with the stethoscope to see if they're making any weird noises. So they'll have you breathe in and out like doctors generally do when you go in for any type of visit. And when they go in, they can really hear the pleura rubbing against each other, which is very interesting. So with pneumonia, you end up hearing like a crackle is what doctors have described to me in your lungs. And with pleurisy, they can hear the friction as it's rubbing together and that inflammation. They might also give you a few tests. So they could send you for an X-ray, a CT scan, or an ultrasound to try to rule out other problems. And those images can show if it's pleurisy. They may have you do some blood tests. So that'll tell you if there's an infection that's causing the problem. It can also perhaps tell you if you have an autoimmune disease like lupus or another problem. It just depends on which tests they're sending it out for. An EKG can also be performed of your heart and make sure that it's not being caused by a heart problem. It is indeed pleurisy if you're having that chest pain. And they may also do a thoracentesis or a thoracoscopy. So a thoracentesis is where the technician looks at some of your pleural fluid under a microscope to see if you have any infections or cancers. And the thoracoscopy is when your doctor uses a thin, flexible tube called a thoracoscope to look inside your chest cavity. So thorax, that's what they're doing, is they're looking into your chest area, and coscopy, that's usually going to be a scope looking. So they're looking inside of your thorax, inside of your chest cavity. And the thoracentesis is they're checking the fluid from your thorax for infections or cancer. So your doctor really needs to figure out what is causing your pleurisy in order to treat it. So in addition to ruling other things out, they may perform any of those tests or recommend those tests specifically to be means to that end. So if it's bacteria, the antibiotics can make you better, but it's not going to impact it if it's a fungus or if it's a virus that's causing it. If it's a virus, you'll get better on your own in a few days or a few weeks. If it's a fungus, you'll probably get an antifungal drug. So some folks who have pleurisy have too much fluid built up between the layers of their pleura, and the doctor may need to remove some of that fluid. Now, if they have to do that, they will insert a thin needle into the space between your pleura to do that. And they may also prescribe you painkillers and or steroid medications to help you while you're getting better. Steroids are really just there to reduce inflammation. So that's treating the cause of the issue, and the painkillers are there to help you with the pain, those symptoms in the meantime. Now, if the coughing hurts too much, your doctor might prescribe a type of cough medicine like codeine that can help you cough less. And you might feel better lying on the side that's causing you pain. So as that pain starts to go away, try to go ahead and breathe more deeply and cough up any phlegm you may have. You want to get any of that gunk out of your lungs. So if you're having it with phlegm, especially if it's a bacterial or a viral infection, remember that when you are getting this stuff trapped in your lungs, your immune system is responding by sending those white blood cells to fight off any microbes that are in there. And then they die and they turn into like pus. So you want to cough that out. We don't want that in our lungs at all. So you can go ahead, once the pain's starting to go away, get in a nice hot shower and try to cough some of that up to make sure that you're ejecting it from your lungs and you can get better faster. There can be some complications of pleurisy though. So pleurisy can be serious. You don't want to just chance it going away on its own. If you're having chest pain, you need to go see a doctor. Complications of pleurisy specifically can be lungs that are blocked or can't expand in the way that they should. You can also get pus in your pleural cavity. So just like infections inside of your lungs can result in that type of pus that you need to then cough out, you can also get it in between the pleura. So in that pleural cavity, and then that can be a very big problem. It can also result in a sudden drop in blood flow, and that's what people are really referring to when they say shock. And you may end up getting a really dangerous reaction to your infection, and that is called sepsis. So the inflammation itself can also cause the fluid to build up in your pleural cavity. So if you watch Grey's Anatomy or you used to watch ER all the time like I did or any other doctor show, you may have heard them talk about a pleural effusion. So a pleural effusion is that fluid buildup in the pleural cavity. So you may have less pain with a pleural effusion, but it can make it really hard for you to breathe. So your doctor might give you some medications like a diuretic to help you get rid of some of that fluid, or they may have to go in with the needle and have that procedure to drain the fluid, just to make sure that your lungs are getting the best shot that they can. Diuretics like furosemide, also referred to as Lasix, can be used to reduce some of that fluid over time. Diuretics are sometimes referred to as water pills, and they help to eliminate water and salt from your body. So normally we think about that in terms of having to pee, but how that works is that in the kidneys, salt, which is sodium and chloride, water, and other small molecules are normally filtered out of your blood and into the tubules of your kidneys. Then the filtered fluid becomes urine. So most of the sodium, chloride, and water filtered out of the blood is reabsorbed into the blood before that filtered fluid becomes urine. Furosemide works by blocking the absorption of sodium, chloride, and water from that filtered fluid in the kidney tubules. So it can cause a large increase in the output of urine. So the onset of the action after oral administration is about an hour. It takes about an hour for this pill to kick in, and then that's going to be effective for about 6 to 8 hours. It can be different if you're getting the injection. It can start after about 5 minutes, and then it only lasts about 2 hours. Now, it can have the effect of depleting sodium, chloride, body water, and other minerals, so they do administer this typically under careful medical supervision. So you can actually take these diuretics as prescribed by your doctor to treat excess accumulation of fluid or swelling in the body caused by cirrhosis, by kidney disease, heart failure, kidney failure, or even pleurisy. It's rather fascinating that it can help you to pee it all out, but remember that your body is an integrated system. So just like we talked about how blood flows through the body and gets some of the waste eliminated via urine through the processing in the kidneys and in the liver, it's similarly working in this manner with the lungs. We're going to go on another break, and when we come back, we are going to wrap up in talking about natural ways to cleanse your lungs. Stay tuned.
GSMC Beauty Tips Podcast gives you advice on everything from hair to fashion to skincare products. We'll talk about the latest trends in makeup, hairstyles, and anti-aging remedies. And we'll cover all of the newest fashion trends. If you have an interest in or questions about the beauty trends that might work best for you, the Golden State Media Concepts Beauty Tips Podcast has got you covered. Download the GSMC Beauty Tips Podcast on iTunes, Stitcher, SoundCloud, Google Play, or anywhere you find podcasts. Just type GSMC in the search bar.
Welcome back. Before the break, we were talking about some issues related to your lungs, and now we're going to talk about some natural ways to cleanse your lungs. So lung cleansing techniques can be helpful for anyone, but particularly for folks who smoke or who are regularly exposed to air pollution, and folks who have chronic conditions that affect your respiratory system, like asthma, COPD, or cystic fibrosis. When you breathe in air pollution, cigarette smoke, and other toxins, it can damage your lungs and even cause health problems. If we maintain the health of our lungs, it can really help keep the rest of our body healthy. So according to the World Health Organization, exposure to air pollution results in 4.2 million deaths worldwide every year. Cigarette smoking is the cause of death for 1 in 5 people in the United States. So in this article, we're going to talk about some of the methods that you can use to try to cleanse your lungs. It is possible to clean out your lungs a little bit, and the lungs are also a self-cleaning organ. So they generally will start healing themselves once they are no longer being exposed to pollutants or when someone quits smoking. And lung health can be really vital for your overall health, as we discussed in how the lungs work with the rest of the body in our first segment. So after your lungs have been exposed to pollution or cigarette smoke, whether that is first or secondhand cigarette smoke, your chest might feel full or congested or maybe even inflamed. And you're going to have mucus in the lungs to catch those microbes and pathogens. So the mucus is there and it's sticky so that it's getting hold of those microbes and pathogens, and that can help them to be bound and not be, wreaking havoc on your lungs, creating mayhem. But that mucus in there that's gathering in your lungs can contribute to that feeling of heaviness, and mucus tends to gather in the lower lobes, just because of gravity. So if you ever are sick and you're coughing a lot and you take your cold medicine and stuff, but you notice that when you lay down, you end up coughing more, that's because that mucus and everything in there is settling in another area and you are having them in a different part of the lobes. So you can use a few specific techniques to help clear your lungs of mucus and irritants, especially if you're having some chest congestion or other uncomfortable symptoms. So they work in different ways. They may open up your airways, they may reduce inflammation, they could improve your lung capacity, like we discussed earlier with diaphragmatic breathing, and it can also help reduce the effects of pollution and smoke in your lungs. So even if you have never smoked a day in your life, or if you are continuing to smoke and not necessarily planning to quit, this can still be helpful for you. So there are a couple ways that we can do this. One of them is steam therapy. So you can inhale water vapor to open up your airways and help the lungs drain mucus. When I was a little kid, we had a water vaporizer, And we would go ahead and use that whenever we were sick or when it was just winter time to help put some more warm moisture in the air when everything was feeling really cold and dry. People who have lung conditions might also notice that their symptoms tend to be worse in cold or dry air. So it can really dry out your mucous membranes if it's cold or dry out, and that can also restrict blood flow. So steam adds warmth and moisture to the air, which, as we discussed in the first segment, is really important for appropriate lung health. Even when you're not sick, cold air can really irritate your lungs, especially as it tends to be more dry. So when you get that warmth and that moisture in there, which is what your nose and your mouth generally do, heat up that air and go ahead and moisten it, then it can really help your breathing, and it can also loosen the mucus inside of your airways and lungs. Inhaling that water vapor can really give you even immediate relief and help you breathe more easily. So one of the ways that is my favorite to do this is to draw the curtain and sit in a hot bath. And then I can cough a bunch and my body feels a lot more rested at the end of the bath period. So they did a small study with 16 males who had COPD a while back, and they found that steam mask therapy led to significantly lower heart rates and respiratory rates than non-steam mask therapy. But the participants did not report any lasting improvements in their respiratory function. So it's not really a cure for it. It is rather just something that you can do when you're having a hard time breathing to alleviate it temporarily. So this therapy is just a temporary solution, but researchers are going to do some more studies to explore the real effects and benefits of steam therapy on lung health. You can also do controlled coughing. So coughing is just what your body does to expel any of the toxins, especially those that are trapped in mucus in your lungs. Anything that's not supposed to be there, it has you cough to get it out. Doctors particularly recommend that folks who have COPD perform this type of exercise to clear their lungs. So if you'd like to do this, you just sit down on a chair with your shoulders relaxed. If you have trouble relaxing them, just roll them backwards 4 or 5 times, and then on the last roll, let them just chill. Keep both of your feet flat on the floor. Fold your arms over your stomach. Slowly inhale through your nose. And then slowly exhale while you lean forward, pushing your arms against your stomach. And then cough 2 or 3 times while exhaling, keeping your mouth just slightly open. Then slowly inhale through your nose, rest, and repeat as necessary. It's okay to take breaks in between bouts of doing this. You can also work to drain mucus from your lungs. One of the best ways to do that is postural drainage. So before we had respirators, a lot of doctors also performed postural drainage with their patients when they would have something going on like we're seeing with COVID-19 right now. I am not at all saying that this is going to cure COVID-19 or anything of that nature, but you may have seen articles about postural drainage online recently because of current events. So postural drainage involves lying in different positions to help use gravity to remove the mucus from your lungs. Because remember, it's settling in the lower lobes because of gravity. Now this practice can help you improve your breathing, and it may even help treat or prevent some lung infections. The postural drainage technique is going to differ depending on how you're laying. And you can do it one of 3 ways: on your back, on your side, or on your stomach. If you're on your back, you're going to be on a floor or a bed. Place pillows under your hips to help make sure that your chest is lower than your hips, so that then your lungs, those bottom lobes of your lungs, are going to be up higher than your head. Then you're going to slowly inhale through your nose and exhale through your mouth. And we're going to do that 1 to 2 breathing here. So each exhale should take twice as long as the inhale. Then we're going to continue for a few minutes. If you try the one that is on your side, then you lie on one side and rest your head on your arm or a pillow. Place your pillows under your hips and then practice that 1-2 breathing pattern. Continue it for a few minutes and then repeat it on the other side. If you are on your stomach, you're going to stack a bunch of pillows on the floor. I've also seen people do this with some rolled up towels, just something soft and that makes kind of a heap. Then you're going to lie down with your stomach over the pillows. If you don't have that many pillows, maybe try a pile of clean laundry. No judgment, you guys. This is about your health. You do what you got to do. And then go ahead and keep your hips above your chest by lying down on your stomach over those pillows. So that's going to tell you how high you need those pillows or that pile of towels or clean clothes to be. Just something that is keeping your hips above your chest. If you have one of those wedge pillows, you can totally use those too. You can also fold your arms under your head for support and then practice the 1-2 breathing pattern for a few minutes. And that's going to help you kind of move some of that mucus and to change the drainage by changing your posture. It's postural drainage. As we discussed earlier, you can also do exercise. You can also, though, drink green tea. Green tea is one of my favorite teas, jasmine in particular, especially Dragon Ball jasmine. That one looks super cool and it really unfurls in the cup. So it's a fun experience as well as a tasty one. But green tea has many antioxidants and those can help you reduce inflammation in your lungs. They can even protect lung tissue from harmful effects of smoke inhalation. There was a recent study in Korea where they studied over 1,000 adults and found that people who drank at least 2 cups of green tea per day had better lung function than those who did not drink any. You can also have some anti-inflammatory foods. So those are going to be like turmeric, leafy greens, cherries, blueberries, olives, walnuts, beans, lentils. Pretty much a lot of those things that are on the Mediterranean diet list. Lastly, you can try chest percussion. So you may have had a doctor do this to you before if you've had trouble breathing, but a respiratory therapist or a healthcare professional may go ahead and use a cupped hand to rhythmically tap on your chest wall to help dislodge any mucus that may be trapped there. Remember, mucus is sticky and sometimes they just kind of need a good shake from your doctor because your doctor knows how to do it appropriately in order to get that out. So a lot of folks may combine chest percussion and postural drainage to clear those airways of excess mucus. That's all I really have for y'all today. I hope you've learned a lot. I know I did and have really enjoyed exploring the lungs. Thank you for listening to the GSMC Health and Wellness Podcast, brought to you by the GSMC Podcast Network. I'd like to ask that you please remember to subscribe to the show, and writing a nice review always really helps us. Also, if you could please follow us on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram, I'd appreciate it. Thank you kindly, and have a good night.
You've been listening to the Golden State Media Concepts Health and Wellness Podcast, part of the Golden State Media Concepts Podcast Network. You can find this show and others like it at www.gsmcpodcast.com. Download our podcast on iTunes, Stitcher, SoundCloud, and Google Play. Just type in GSMC to find all the shows from the Golden State Media Concepts Podcast Network, from movies to music, from sports to entertainment, and even weird news. You can also follow us on Twitter and on Facebook. Thank you, and we hope you have enjoyed today's program.